spent the morning at a wonderful event at the Grand Prix put on by the British Consulate, which was fantastic. And I thought, well, I've already got a nice shirt on. Why don't I just talk about some stuff that I think is important in relation to some of the things that have been going on the last little while, but also just generally in relation to how we treat one another and how we frame the way that we talk about lifting people out of disadvantage and looking after each other. Because I think there's some really huge gaps and a real lack of nuance in the way that we talk about these things that leaves more people behind than it brings along. And one of the things that I think, or one of the concepts that I think is really important for people to understand as we start to build frameworks and provide resources to people that need help and communities that need help, is that there is a real tendency to try and talk about what's bad, like, oh, stress is bad, or grief is bad, or challenges are bad, and people saying bad words is bad, and all this kind of stuff about the environment or about bad things, and trying to silo off individual causes or individual sources of distress, and then saying that's a bad thing. What we need to do is eliminate that thing. And largely they're causes that you can't really eliminate because you're trying to control too much of the entire environment in the world rather than looking at the environment around the individual. And that might sound a little bit strange at the moment, but I guess the best way to sort of describe it is to say that things like stress and things like difficulty and tough times are not necessarily in and of themselves terrible, because they're guaranteed. People are going to feel stressed. People are going to say mean things. Bad things are going to happen. There's going to be global things that are out of your control. There's going to be local things that are out of your control. Physiological, emotional, mental, community-wide things that are out of your control. What really matters is the environment that's around individuals and communities when these things occur. Not focusing on what's terrible and how do we eliminate it, but focusing on like how do we create environments where support is available, really good support, so that people can actually come through those times. Stress is a great example. People talk about stress being this, it's so bad, we've got this epidemic, it's horrible, it's killing people and it's driving people nuts. But stress in and of itself isn't a terrible thing. If you stress a muscle or you stress yourself at the edge of your ability, so you're kind of reaching a little bit in the right environment, that can lead to extraordinary amounts of growth. It can lead to breakthroughs. It can lead to things that are really fantastic if you have the right nutrition and the right sleep and the right support, and you're not and you're able to sort of make the most of the stressors and make them productive. That can be really fantastic. If you don't have that environment around you, your mindset doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you're like, no, this stress is going to make me strong. I'm going to lift all these weights. If you do hard labor without eating enough food, without getting enough rest for years on years, your body will suffer for it. You'll be weaker. You might die from it. Whereas if you have the opportunity to go to the gym and train for years and years, you end up with a stronger body, with a more able, more physically capable body because of those stresses. The stress isn't the thing that's good or bad. The environment around the stress, the environment that you're in when you experience the stress, is what makes the difference. And that's the same for so many things. I have seen people who have had happen to them some of the most horrendous, most heartbreaking, shocking, just graphically, objectively terrible things happen to them. And they have had really great community support, really great familial support. They've felt like they had some agency in the space. They've had the support for as long as they need it in the kinds of ways that they need it. And they've had a lot of love, and they've had the things that they need. They've had the food and the work and, economic security and all these things. And they come through those times and they're okay. And they're legitimately okay. And I've seen other people who have had things that seem much more minor in the global scale of problems, in the global scale of issues that affect people. But without the right support around them, they lose agency, they lose support, it kind of snowballs, the feelings of despair grow, and they're unable to come out of the other side of that positively. And that's a real challenge, because we've got then in the public people saying, I had this bad problem and I just got through it myself. And nearly every bloody speaker who's trying to talk about mental health or whatever leads off with their own personal story about, oh, I had a bad time and I got through it and now you can do it too. And completely leaves out what really helped, which is largely all the things around you, the people around you, the tools that you had when you went through it, your capacity to deal with it at the time, which is built up over usually gradual exposure to challenges and getting through them along the way. And all of these community and environmental things that allow you to break through. And they say, I got through it, so you can too. Someone hears that story and goes, my problems don't even seem as bad as that, and I can't get through. Like, what's wrong with me? And the answer is nothing, because often it's about the environment. And if we move it out of things that seem a little bit more subjective, like mental health, and into, relevant, toilet paper. Boom. We've got a run on toilet paper at the moment because people are just acting out of completely radical self-interest, which just shows first of all, lack of awareness and community spirit, but also this kind of this mentality that you've got to grab whatever you can grab rather than make sure there's enough for everyone. Because if you leave enough for everyone, then, they're all just going to hoard it and then we're all going to be buggered and I'm going to be left behind and I don't want to be left behind. So I'll leave other people behind, which obviously creates an environment of extraordinary amounts of distress for people. But if we sort of take the toilet paper and we go to the bathroom and we end up, because let's say we've got diarrhea. Obviously it's, we all go to the bathroom, so it's not that gross. We should be able to talk about it. But, diarrhea makes people go a bit, oof. I've had it. Probably if you're watching this, you've had it at some point. I've had it because of food poisoning. I've had it because of stress. I've had it, I had it when I was a kid. I've had it as a grown-up. It's not great. It's not an exciting time. Makes you feel pretty rubbish. But I've got through it every time. Hydrolyte, good health otherwise, good nutrition, a little bit of sleep, that sort of thing, clean toilets, sanitary environment to use. Not a big deal. But diarrhea is the second largest killer of children under 5. I think it's 2,195 children a day die from diarrhea, which seems ridiculous. Is it because we're not spending enough time inspiring them? Should I go and tell them that I had diarrhea and I got over it so they can too if they change their mindset? Absolutely not. We don't think that because it's ridiculous. We know that the environments around those children contribute greatly to their capacity to get through something like diarrhea. So they need and it's not a single intervention. They need sanitary environments. They need toilets. They need soap. They need access to hydrolyte and medicine that will help them get better. They need better nutrition so that if they ever get sick, that they actually are strong enough to deal with it. They need long-term support. They need education about these things. It's a complicated, in some sense, sophisticated environment around people that allows them to endure and survive and be stronger as a result of and learn from those experiences. And I have real concerns that we just spend too much time telling people, hey, I got over diarrhea, you can do it too, change your mindset, blah, 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 and then just completely ignore taking responsibility for the environment around people and not take into account paying attention to the environments around people so that we can do a better job. So, at JBN, so much of our work is around paying attention to the environments around people and not just walking in and saying, you need to do this. But we also need to stop demonizing individual stressors and start really working on how do we build environments that provide people with the opportunity to build, develop, and have resilience no matter what comes their way. And that is super, super important. And it is a really important reframing of the conversation that we need to do if we really do want to help people who need help, regardless of how they come to need help and what they look like at the moment. So I would encourage everybody to sort of step away a little bit from those, this is bad, and start going, hang on, if someone got through this, what was around that person that allowed them to get better? Because at some level, perhaps I did have a stronger immune system than a 4-year-old child who's living in sub-Saharan Africa and died from diarrhea. But why is it stronger? Because I've had good nutrition, because I haven't been ill my whole life, because I've eaten enough that week, because I'm not constantly drinking water that's making me sick on top of being sick, that I'm educated about hygiene and I know about those things. That didn't just happen, and that's got nothing to do with me. I didn't make that happen myself. I'm just the beneficiary of an amazing environment of support around me. So what we really need to do is focus on building those environments for people, getting on with it. Stop talking about how you did a thing and tell everyone else that if they just change their mindset, they can do it too. It's not true. People need assistance, and they need it to be there whether you recognize that they're sick or not. We can't tell in the line for toilet paper whether you need it immediately, it's an emergency, or whether you might need it later, or you will need it later. It doesn't matter when there's toilet paper everywhere for people to buy. You shouldn't have to prove that you're at death's door or that you're at the absolute worst or you're most vulnerable before anyone bothers to put stuff around you to help you. It should be there all the time so you can lean into it early, late, whenever you want to, and that you know it'll be there and that you know that you'll get it and that you know you'll be okay. That's how we build resilient communities. That's how we improve equality of opportunity. And that's how we start to reframe these problems in a way that actually becomes productive rather than reductive. Anyway, end rant. Have an amazing day. Look out for everyone around you. Give out some love, not hugs and kisses at the moment. People aren't really into that, thanks coronavirus. So give a few elbow bumps out, look after one another. And if you've got any questions, let me know.